All right, good morning and welcome to the Employability Skill Series, where we explore the top skills employers are looking for in candidates. Each week, we will cover a different topic with thoughts and insights from professionals in a variety of industries. I am your host, Megan Morrow, Senior Associate Director of Experiential Learning and Employer Relations. And today I have Sherry Zabo, Dean of Student Solutions here at Florida Southern College, as my guest, and we will be discussing the importance of going the extra mile in the workplace. Sherry has been at Florida Southern College for 35 years. Woo woo! That is an amazing accomplishment. So congratulations. So 35 years here at Florida Southern. Her father, Frank Zabo, was the Assistant Dean of Students for 38 years before retiring. Sherry has served in several roles during her time here at Florida Southern, which includes advancement, public relations, alumni relations, student development, student life, and academic center for excellence through academic affairs. Sherry graduated from Florida Southern in 1983 with a
It
Bachelor of
feels like 1883 sometimes, Megan. Indeed, it does.
the one thing I'm going to stumble on would be that. Way to go, Megan. All
We
right,
know
let's try
each
that
other.
again.
It's fine.
Okay, good. All right, graduated from Florida Southern in 1983 with a Bachelor of Arts in Broadcast Communication. She worked for 7 years in the news as the news director at WONN WPCV Radio, NBC radio correspondent, covered everything from the space shuttle liftoffs, weather emergencies, national beauty pageants, and Florida electric chair execution, which still always gets me. Sherry is
Mhm.
currently the public address announcer for the athletics of women's volleyball. Whew, what an awesome introduction. So, welcome, Sherry. Thank you so much for being here with us today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us about? I mean, that's an impressive bio to begin with.
Well, you are very kind with those words. Thank you so much, Megan. I love doing these with you. As we were chatting off camera and off mic, it's just such a cool opportunity to explore different topics, and you do a beautiful job of navigating the conversation. So I hope the students really enjoy today and will ask questions or give feedback to you. And I'm really excited about the topic that we get to explore.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And the last time we talked about or last week, I'm sorry, we talked about time management and we did make it a little bit more interactive. So those that are on the call, please, if you have questions, pop them in the chat pod. We'd love for this to be interactive. We also know that sometimes you're just listening as you're going about your day, whatever. So, but please feel free. You can either ask us questions before, during, or after. Sherry and I are happy to connect with you any way that you want. That's why we're doing this because we like to get the information to you, and we just want to, be more involved with you and connect with you. So, please, either myself or Sherry, we're here on campus. So let's dive in. Today we are talking about going the extra mile. What does that mean, Sherry? Like, let's just dive right in.
Yeah, I think it means going above and beyond, thinking past maybe what you initially are charged with, maybe initially what the assignment is, and exploring, okay, how can you take things to the next level? How can hopefully you're giving it all you can anyway, right? But what is that extra touch that you can do perhaps with a project, an assignment, that sort of thing? But also, I think you can look at it broader in terms of how do you go the extra mile as a team member? How do you go the extra mile in, knowing if someone's, kind of knowing them well enough that you recognize, oh, this person's maybe not having a good day. How can I support them? How can I give them that little extra, hey, hello, you're doing a great job, those sorts of things. So I think it's about maybe developing a greater sense of awareness about yourself, about your team members, so that you can take things to the next level is kind of how I see the extra mile.
Okay, awesome. I love that. So there's a lot of things I want to kind of unpack here. So not just your tasks, the duties, the things that are on your plate that you're supposed to accomplish. on your day to day, which, say, let's just say your job description, basically, the things that your boss or your supervisor expects you to do. But you commented on just kind of being aware of your teammates and maybe somebody who's not really at their 100% and being able to be like, whoa, okay, something's not quite with that person. Can you just like dive a little bit deeper on why that would be important?
Because I think being a team member is the only way to get things done.
Hmm.
While certainly, we have individual work that we have to do, but the we're not the only one that is a part of effectively making sure that things are accomplished. There's everyone around us plays a role in making sure that success is achieved. So I think if you're only looking at yourself or you're only able to see yourself, then you're missing a huge part of the picture and a key part of the picture in making sure that things are successful. And it may not necessarily be success about a particular project this instant, but overall, the success of a team, the success of the mission, to know when someone's maybe having a weaker moment or is needs some additional help, whether that's professionally in a project or whether that's personally that they just need that opportunity to be lifted up. I think if you miss that opportunity, you miss also some self growth too. I
Hmm.
think
Hmm.
it's really easy to just become encapsulated that it's all about ourselves, and I
Hmm.
think in today's world we probably get put a lot on that, right? Where we're
Hmm.
looking at everything, and it is only about ourselves. It's about how we're seen by this person, what this person thinks about us. But I think there's a broader approach that we really need to become aware of in the workplace and outside of the workplace that makes us a better human being, and it makes us a better team member for an employer.
Yeah, beautifully said. And this resonating very deep with me right now because I just had one of my own teammates say that about me, and that I'm usually pretty good about being able to pick up on that. And I think that speaks to emotional intelligence as well, which is another great skill that we need to be really well aware of. And that speaks to how our behavior and our actions kind of affect those around us. But being able to see your teammate and be like, well, okay, something's a little off with that person, and extending a little bit of grace to that
Yeah.
person, maybe like not, kind of hammering them so hard with a whole bunch of extra tasks, or maybe being a little bit lighter, but something just as simple as, hey, just wanted to check in on you. Just let you know that I'm here for you, or something just as simple. And I think that this goes a long way because I think that it comes from a good place, but a lot of times we'll say stuff like, "Oh, I know exactly what you're going through," when you don't. You have
Right.
no idea
Right.
what someone's going
Right.
through, but just to say something like, "How can I support you?" allows that other person to feel seen, allows them to know that, that they're important, and that you're like, I see you, but I'm not going to like invade your space, but I
Mhm.
am here for you. And if there's something that I can do for you, let me know. But I mean, I've been practicing that a lot lately, just saying like, how can I support you? I
Mhm.
see that you're struggling, but I'm here for you. And then that gives that person just a little bit of space, but also to know that, hey, you're not alone.
Yeah, I think it speaks volumes about yourself too, right? And I think it's one of those key employability skills, one of those soft skills
Mhm.
that I think is whether you're a leader or whether you're a follower, it's an important skill that you have, and it will serve you well in life, again, personally and professionally, to have that sense, that compassion, that awareness
Mhm.
is going to take you far.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because your team, because that's another thing you said, like, and sometimes we're kind of like in our head and it's kind of all about us and we're trying to get our task done. But even though we're doing the task that we've been assigned, it's still part of a greater good because we're still part of a team. And, whether you might be the one that's kind of struggling, or your teammate might be, the task is not going to get done, even if you get your piece done. The common goal isn't going to get done if the whole team isn't functioning. So being able to be cognizant of your own, duties and responsibilities and
Mhm.
your own mental, state and how you're
Mhm.
functioning, but as well as your other, team members as well,
Mhm.
makes, kind of the whole process work very well. So how would you kind of coach or advise maybe somebody on your team or, students who are kind of looking to cultivate this skill to
Mhm.
how to be more aware of those around them that they can help, their teammates or their classmates or themselves to kind of continue to go this extra mile?
I, I think that's a great question. I think we all have to learn to listen better. And in order to listen, we have to be still and we have to really be attentive to other individuals. It's such a fast paced world, and there are so many demands on us. For us to simply pause, I think that's been the greatest life lesson that I have had over, 35 years of work and a lot of other chronological years of just existence on this planet is just to pause. I don't have to be going all the time, which may sound counter to going the extra mile. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to, you have to be frantic from that standpoint. I think you have to be observant. I think you have to listen. I think you have to watch. I think if you are able to have that skill set, and sometimes that's developed, right? I think the hardest thing is, and I learned this when, and I was a reporter, and one of the most effective ways is that you do what they call a pregnant pause. So you ask a question and you wait. You when someone responds, you wait, and the human nature is, oh my gosh, from the person who's being interviewed, they've got to fill that space. So they'll
Mhm.
keep talking, and eventually they may end up what you want them to say as a reporter anyway, that kind of thing. But it's a technique that you pull it out of them because most people are uncomfortable with that silence. And
Mhm.
so I think it's developing a sense that silence is okay. That's a part of listening and processing and being in the moment. Many times, and I find myself guilty of this, right? I'm on to my mind is clicking. Oh, and some of that probably is a little age related, right? That I have to go, okay, if I don't say this now, I may forget it in 5 minutes. So I'm going to blurt it out. But I think it's being present in the moment, and being able to process in the moment.
Okay, there's some great thing. Being present is something that we could all work on. Communicating better, we could all work on that. Even if we have great communication skills, we can always do better.
Yes.
We can
Yes, I totally.
always, yeah, absolutely, because we're all different and we all communicate differently and we all hear different. And I love the saying that perception is reality. So everybody is different, and therefore we could always be working on that. And then to kind of go back to this, going the extra mile, I was just reading a study that, especially with this younger generation, like say if you're contracted to work, 20 hours, for example, this particular generation would say like, okay, well, I'm done with my task. Even if it's, I get done in 10 hours, then I should be done and still paid for my 20 hours. Whereas an older generation, like the boomers and the Xers, we're more kind of conditioned to be like, okay, now I'm done. Now what else can I do? So kind of finding that middle ground to our millennials and our Zers who were like, okay, well, no, 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 that was all that I was assigned, and then our boomers and our Xers who are like, work, 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 because that's kind of what was instilled in us. That
Right.
kind of middle ground where we can go that extra mile, but without being so overworked, right?
Right.
Because we
Right.
don't
Finding a
we don't want
balance.
that either.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Finding that middle ground, like, okay, I've done with my stuff, being aware, being in the moment, like you just said, being aware of around us, being aware of our teammates, being present, and saying, okay, now, yes, I've done with my stuff, but yeah, again, without bleeding myself dry and working myself to the bone. But okay, what else can I do? How can I help? Reaching out to your supervisors, reaching out to your teammates. Hey guys, I have a little bit of extra time. I have a little
Yeah.
bit of bandwidth within me. I've finished what I've done. How can I help you? Do you need some support? Would go a very, very, very long way. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
absolutely. I think another part of it too is what we're finding with, and you read a lot of stories with big corporations, and certainly the opportunity to work from home changed, was very much in place during COVID, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually has become limited as companies have said, no, you're going back in the workplace, you're going back in the brick and mortar. Um, but perhaps still providing opportunities to work from home. There's a huge value in, yeah, you may be allowed to work, let's say 2 days from home, but there's a huge value if you take the opportunity to to perhaps not use that totally all the time, and you're back in the workplace. There's a huge
Mm-hmm.
value with that interaction, with supervisors seeing that you're in the workplace. And that's still, I think, being able to maintain a balance,
Mm-hmm.
and being aware of what your personal bandwidth is so that you can do the best that you can, which is a huge reflection on you. But I think there's some of that that's going on now of trying to, okay, yeah, I'm allowed this, but is that the best thing for me to work from home for 2 days? Am
Right.
I better served if I'm in the office four instead of
Right.
three, that sort of thing. So I think we're going to see some changes in that. Some of it will, I think, still come down to some of I say, the demands of today's employees.
Mm-hmm.
What are their needs, trying to meet their needs. But I also think that when you have a time when maybe the economy is struggling, businesses might not be as willing to meet employee needs, since they're needing to meet a bottom line. So we may see some dynamics just in terms of the nature of the business climate, in the next couple of years through all that. So that's just I went off on a very odd tangent at that point, but it went jumped
And
in
we
on
like
the road, and
tangents.
there you go. Well, that's a tangent for you.
No, no, those are great. No, those are things we need to be thinking of because I know that because remote work was all the craze there for a couple years right after COVID. And now we have to like make that transition, that switch back, like, no, we need to be back in the workplace. Some companies do offer that hybrid schedule, but you're speaking like from a supervisor kind of lens now. You're talking about what it would look like from a supervisory lens. So let's kind of steer that conversation here.
Sure.
Somebody who is in a leadership role, talking about going the extra mile. Let's talk about, if you're looking at your team, people, what does that look like for you? Like when it comes to maybe promotions or for, moving people up into different positions, those that step up and go the extra mile versus those that don't. What does that look like from your lens?
I think human nature is we tend to gravitate and look towards people that are probably like ourselves. So if we perceive ourselves as an extra miler, then we are going to, just by the nature of who we are, tend to gravitate that those are the type of people that we want on our teams. Those are the type of people that we're most likely to promote or advocate for, or that. So, but I think also as a supervisor, you have to put that into perspective too, right? Because
Mhm.
it may be that someone who's that extra miler doesn't have the needed balance that we've talked about, and that can take a toll on their health, their personality, their ability to contribute fully. So as a supervisor, I think you have to, though, be have that cautionary tale. Yeah, you want to,
Mhm.
oh, I want that person that's going to do the extra mile, but um a team is made up of all sorts of people.
Mhm.
So I think as you build that team, you just have to be aware of that. You have to be respectful of that. You have to encourage particular times when you may need everybody. Doesn't matter whether it may not be in their heart of hearts that they got to give it. They've got to give above and beyond. For some people, that may not come naturally. So I think as a supervisor, you have to be aware of that, and you have to know how to cultivate for the times when it's really important that in fact we need everybody to go that extra mile. They have to really be on. So as a supervisor, I think you have to be aware of yourself, and then you have
Hmm.
to really be aware of the truth of your employees, and then know, okay, when do I need to push? When do I not need to push too?
Well, yeah, and that speaks to, your ability as a leader to know your people and your emotional intelligence to be aware of where they're operating from. Like you said, when to push, when to pull, when to support, when to back off a little bit. And there's a lot that you've got going on, which somebody who's never been in a supervisory or leadership role would probably not understand everything that's going on
Mhm.
behind the scenes, if you will, for your
Yeah.
what you're doing. And as you're looking at your team, you made a comment, and it was, and kind of like, I just want to really harp on this because somebody might not have picked up on this, but I think that this is huge. You said, like somebody who's going the extra mile, but also the balance, because you can see people who overcommit. And like again, they might be thinking, no, this is great, especially our young new graduates who are going to go out there and they're like, okay, I'm going to just show my new boss that I'm going to do everything. I'm going to be their right hand
Mhm.
person, and
Mhm.
I'm going to take it all on. Yeah, that sounds romantic and wonderful in theory. But when you overcommit, right, you've probably seen this, Sherry, where then they burn out.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Yeah, you
Megan,
take
we
on too
see
much.
that. Yeah, and we see that with oftentimes with our new students that come here,
Hmm.
because there are so many organizations, clubs and organizations, activities, all that for them to engage in, and oftentimes that first semester, it's like, whoop, we just went huge into the pool, and they're swimming around and everything. And it impacts them. It impacts them sometimes academically because they don't have a good sense of balance and time management. So they're overextending themselves. So it can impact academically. It can impact physically. They're not getting the sleep, the healthy consumption of whatever, all those things. So I think today's students can recognize that, hopefully, in themselves, that potentially maybe they did that when they first got here at Florida Southern, or currently. And sometimes that happens that first semester. By the end of the first semester, it's like, wait a minute, ooh, I need to back off. And then they have a better sense of how to manage and what they can handle. And then that grows as they continue here at Florida Southern, where they may shift their interests, shift their demands, that sort of thing.
Okay. We just got a comment in the chat pod about. Just want to read this real fast. She said, "Hello, I want to thank you so much for the information, and talking about the balance is one of the most important parts because sometimes we want to outshine and
Mhm.
we way overdo it." Yes,
Yep.
and I understand you do have to leave a little early, so thank you, Yoli, for coming. But yeah, I think that's a huge piece, and I'm glad that we kind of picked up on this and wanted to talk about this because that balance is incredibly important. You can shine, you can show your dedication and that your commitment, but without so overextending yourself that now you can't give it your all because Sherry as a leader, me and like in the classroom as a professor, and even just as our friends, we see, like in our intimate circle, whether it's our loved ones, our friends, like, man, you don't even have any time for me, or you don't even have time for the things that you've committed to. And even though you think you're doing this wonderful, great thing, you spread yourself now too thin that you're
Yeah.
not doing a wonderful, great thing because now you don't
Yeah.
have the energy or the time or the resources to do the few things. So that's a great topic to hit on. Pick a few things and do those really well
Yeah.
versus
Yeah.
trying to pick all the things and do them surfacely, minimally.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's that self-care piece too,
Hmm.
Megan, that when you were describing that immediately came to mind. And then, immediately I think of the flight attendant, right? When you're on a plane, if those things drop down, you're supposed to take care of yourself first
Yes.
before adjusting for somebody else and that sort of thing. So, if you're not at your best, you're not going to be able to give your best. And I think we all have seen that. It doesn't matter how long we've been in the workplace or how old we are chronologically or how young or any of that. We can see throughout our lives, occasions when we've overextended and the price that
Yes.
we've paid for that. And so, those are some of the life lessons that we will continue to hopefully learn from and be able to do better at. But self-care is a big piece of it that enables us to go the extra mile when the opportunity presents itself, when we can kind of see, okay, I'm up at bat, everybody's on the bases, this is my time to hit a home run. If I'm not
Hmm.
at my best, then most likely I'm not going to be able to deliver. I'm not going to be able to go that extra mile if I'm personally not at my best, physically, mentally, emotionally. And the reality is, every day we're not going to be at our
No.
100%. That just is life, right? But
Right.
in planning, when we know certain things are upcoming, if we can prepare ourselves appropriately, then in fact we know when called upon to go that extra mile, we're ready. We are going to go up there and we're going to deliver it.
100%. And yeah, I love that you said that because not everybody will do that. Like there's a couple of people right now that are coming to my mind. My sister, for one, is someone who will just go, 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 and never give herself the grace to take a day off. Or, somebody on her team calls out, she immediately jumps in, will cover that shift. And it's like, well, what about you? Like, you deserve a day off as well. You deserve to rejuvenate because you can't be your best self like you just said, Sherry, and show up for all the people that are depending on you when you have nothing in you to give.
Right.
When you've depleted
Absolutely.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, my husband still laughs at me when, maybe I'm driving home and it's 4:45 and I call him and he goes, "Oh my goodness, you've just left work 15 minutes. I can't believe you just did that." He'll make fun of me that I've given myself a 15-minute. But for me, that's a huge step away. And that
Hmm.
is what, occasionally I need to do. It may not sound like 15 minutes is a lot, but for me, to process and give myself, okay, some of that is giving yourself permission, right?
Hmm.
Um, just knowing those different ways where it's like, okay, some of it is just, I need to step outside. I need to step out and look at the sky. Looking
Hmm.
through the windows is not good enough. I just need to take that break, refuel myself, so again, I can go that extra mile, which sometimes can be something we prepare for. Sometimes we don't know, right? And the nature, I think, of student life and the nature of work overall. Sometimes there will be crises. Sometimes there will be things that will be thrown at you that you're going, wait a minute, I wasn't expecting that. But if you kind of have that fuel within you, if you've allowed yourself to refuel whatever it takes to refuel and consistently keep that fuel up so you're not near that empty when those times come, then again you'll be able to step up and go that extra mile.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. I love that. And I love the way that this conversation kind of took its own winding, natural, organic path to this very important piece about self-care because that is super important because like you said, you can't go the extra mile. You could barely function at bare minimum and just going to work and then you're just going through the motions, which is no good for you. It's no good for your team. It's definitely no good for your supervisor and the organization as a whole. And
Right.
then, so therefore, you definitely can't go the extra mile. So definitely taking care of yourself. We are up on our time. Sherry, thank you so much for sharing your time with me and your thoughts on this. This is really important, good for for your team, for the company, for yourself. Everything that we want to do and we're trying to accomplish, not just in work, but in our lives in general. So thank you so much. Thank you for the students that did join us and those that are going to watch us on the recording. We'll see you guys all at Convo in about an hour as well. So super exciting for that. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you around campus.
Thanks, Megan.
All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.